Welcome to a special episode of Angie and Christie Right Now, just in time for Halloween and our 1 year podcast anniversary. Woo!
Yay! Happy 1 year, happy anniversary. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, no confetti in my end. I would want to.
We can
just
like
throw some
pretend
stuff
like
Wait.
woo!
Wait, I practiced this. Hold on.
Oh wait, digital confetti. How about that? Perfect.
Today, we're diving into the chilling world of horror, discussing our 5 favorite horror books turned into movies and sometimes TV shows. But that's not all. We are thrilled to be joined by our good friend and guest co-host, CJ Edmunds. Yay!
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Anytime. Author of the Dark District series and host of his own podcast, Urban Fantasy Philippines. We love to have CJ with us to share his thoughts. And today, also to share our frights and our favorite jump scares. Now we've got a little confession to make. Some of these books were definitely read when we were way too young for them. Whether we were sneaking them with a flashlight under the covers or staying up late, terrified of what lurked in the shadows or under our bed, these stories made a lasting impression. These 5 titles are the ones that haunted us and probably still do now. They shaped our love or maybe our fear for horror, and we can't wait to chat about them. We'll be covering everything from eerie classics to modern psychological terror, debating the adaptations and sharing which versions send chills down our spine. Were these books scarier on the page or on the screen? Stick around to find out. We've got some strong opinions on that. Oh, and did we mention that we're all decked out in our favorite Halloween costumes for this episode?
Oh yeah.
You may not be able to see us, but trust us, it's spooktacular. Though I'm not sure. Though I'm not sure who's more frightening, the books that we're talking about or CJ in his dark druid cape. So grab your candy corn, dim the lights, and get ready for a hauntingly good time as we celebrate horror, Halloween, and 1 whole year of Angie.
Yes.
Right now.
Happy anniversary.
So our very first one, number 1, is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. First of all, when did you reid it?
I was I don't think I was in. I'm sorry, CJ. Did you go ahead?
No, go ahead. I would just,
What are you doing?
I can't say anything because I don't have my glasses on.
I thought that was an apparition trying to make their way into the conversation. You're just like shooing them away. It's like, no, it's not your time to talk. Quiet.
There was a gnat flying by. It was like trying to hunt me. Oh no.
So the book was I'm gonna do it the whole time. The book was written in 1959.
Yes.
So that's a while back.
Yeah.
So
It was.
I think I probably read this maybe a little after college, but not long after. So I was in my 20s.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think my husband introduced me to it. Yeah.
I tried reading it after watching the adaptation. And I felt that it did have its own share of scares as compared to the show. But that one book I remembered, I got it off one of those thrift store bookshops, and then for some reason I think I lent it out to somebody, and then they never gave it back, and so I ended up having to get the ebook instead.
That's a shame.
Oh, I hate
I know. I hate it when people do that. So sometimes I'd rather I'd rather buy you an extra copy of the book and just, that's yours.
Yeah.
Don't have to return it because I got mine.
Because then when you want it, like me, like where I was trying to find some of the books for this, I was like, what happened to them? I can't find them.
That's right. Well, the book itself, it's a pivotal work in Gothic horror literature, and if you have both seen the 1963 black and white film with Julie Harris, and there's also the 1999 Leon version with Catherine Zeta-Jones, as well as most recently the one done by Mike Flanagan. Basically, the novel focuses Eleanor Vance. She's someone you could call socially isolated, and she has a history of caring for the recently deceased, plus overbearing mother. And she receives an invitation from this doctor named John Montague, and who is a paranormal investigator, and to invite her over to spend summer at Hill House, which is a great mansion if you have servants to take care of it. But nonetheless, it is a dark and it's a mansion that has a dark and mysterious past, along with two other guests. There's Theodora. She's bohemian as you can get. There's also Luke Sanderson, who's the heir to the estate. And as soon as they arrive, fun things start to happen.
Oh, spooky
And
things.
yeah. Unseen forces assault Eleanor and try to exacerbate her fragile mental states, if it's not fragile to begin with. And the house itself is described as inherently evil, and it appears to exert a sinister influence on the occupants, especially, of course, Eleanor. By the time that you're done with reading it, it begs the question that is the paranormal side of things real, or was it something that Eleanor herself devised in her own head? So
yeah, which is
it-
fascinating. I love that when it's you can't tell,
Yeah.
because
yeah.
it's especially when you're reading a book, because then every little creak, every little noise, you're like, is this real or is this my imagination? Is it
Right,
real?
right.
And so it makes it even more scary, especially compared to where it's pretty obvious that is not within the mind, that it's something outside
Mhm.
exerting his own force. I like it. It feels creepier when it's ambiguous and you can't really tell.
Right. And sometimes it also depends on the author. If they want to make you feel, they want to make you feel as a reader sort of like irritated at the characters. Like, I'm seeing this for what it is. Why can't you? I mean, can I just reach into the book and slap some reality,
Right?
some sense of reality to you?
Yeah,
It's not there.
right.
It's so true, but I agree with everything that you just said. Like you at one point you're like, well, is this all in her head, or is the house really trying to like beat her up? Like what's going on with this woman who is, like you said, she's already ambiguously like suffering. So like, okay, as with all horror movies, like why did she accept that invitation in the first place? But like, okay, so then there's no book. But anyways, so yeah, then like you're never sure what's going on and whatever. And imagine being the heir to that. Like that would be like
I mean, no, thank you.
More like I can charge $3 per entry and make money off it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And people would pay. I would pay to go to a haunted house. I know.
Yeah.
Kind of strange,
Yeah.
but I would. Yeah.
Actually, that
Me
would be
too, me
great.
too.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that
I
would be
mean,
great.
take your book with you. You take something to write with, so that you can. I bet
And
the
you-
inspiration is pretty.
And you intend on
yeah.
not sleeping all night. You know what I mean? Like you go there with the full intention that you're not going to sleep. This is not going to be like a peaceful night out. It's going to be like I'm going to write every creak and I'm going to write a book later about this. Like,
Exactly. $3 per entry. We got free donuts and free coffee. Come on in. Come on
And there
in.
may be spiritual hauntings.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, some of the key differences that we all thought were between the books, the movies, and the TV interpretation. The first one is obviously the book centers around Eleanor, her psychological decline, and her perception of the house. But the film adaptation puts more emphasis on the supernatural hauntings, like any film would do. Like, I mean, this is a jump scare kind of movie, so that's what you're trying to do. So, obviously, as an author, it's harder to do in writing. So, as a filmmaker, it's just easier to do, and that's what you're going to see the scary movie for. So
That's right. And Mike Flanagan went to town with that adaptation. It was the best one so far for that particular year. I mean, I had to watch it twice. I mean, one for myself and the other one with everyone else in the house, and me waiting on the side. And let's see. I know this is the part where gotcha.
you're with your camera going like, come on.
I'm gonna video this, your reaction. Yeah. Makes you wonder, maybe perhaps deep down inside, could Eleanor, I don't know, subconsciously be looking for a cure, and she feels that I know there's something wrong with me and there's something wrong with that place. So maybe no, two things, negative and negative would give me a positive, or she feels that this is my last line to deal with reality. And if I can't deal with something that's perceived to be not reality, then then I know that there's no cure for me. I don't know. Did it ever occur to you that way?
No, but I love
I
that.
know, yeah,
Like,
that's pretty great.
that's not something that, that I would have thought of, but
Mhm.
I completely agree. Like, I see where you're coming from. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, she
Yeah.
feels herself not well, so she's thinking,
Yeah,
am I going to be able to deal with this kind of thing?
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like pushing her. She knows that this is that last chance to push herself to the limit and see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I like
And
that.
since I'm being paid for it, then hey, why not?
Yeah, yeah.
Why
That's
not?
sad. Mhm. I really did love just that level of horror that just kind of is just creepy, horror that she wrote. Like it just, I was surprised because I hadn't read any of her books before. I'm not sure what else. I don't think I've read anything else. Oh no, I think I did. I think I read The Lottery. I think I read The Lottery first, and then I read Hill House. I can't, or vice versa. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy her, and I really found it interesting because Stephen King is somebody else who I read a lot as a kid, and that he praised The Haunting of Hill House as one of the best horror books ever written. Yeah.
I think that's high praise from
Mhm.
somebody who's written, like, I mean, I don't even know how many books has Stephen King written by now, and
A
how many of
Well, I
them,
have at least 5 holding up this
right?
computer.
And like, how many have they all been #1 bestsellers? Like it's,
Yeah.
and how many of them have been created into movies, TV shows, whatever? Like when that guy tells you that you wrote a great, I think that's
Yeah,
a pat on the back, kind of.
exactly. And most of his books are doorstoppers, so
Yeah, yeah, you're so true. So
he has
true.
all the right to give praises to
To
uh,
whoever he wants.
whoever he wants
I
to.
agree.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, so the next one we're doing is Beloved by Toni Morrison. It was published in 1987.
Mhm.
I was still in high school at the time, and I read it back then. I'm not sure if it was probably my senior year. And I remember how impactful it was to me at that age. It was so good. So good, to the point where I read everything else that I could find by Toni Morrison.
She's an amazing author, for sure.
So Toni Morrison's Beloved is a deeply complex novel. It intertwines the horrors of slavery and the supernatural. The difference that I found between the book and the way she wrote, the way she brought you into a scene, the way I lived in her world. And it was, especially for a teenager back in the 80s, and seeing what Seth had gone through,
Mhm.
oh man, it was so good. I can't even.
No, for sure. Do you want to give us a little summary of the book, CJ? You do it.
Okay. Well, basically, the story centers on, as we said, Sethi, who is a former slave. She lives in Cincinnati in this house that's haunted by what she believes to be the spirit of her daughter named Beloved, or Beloved, depending on how you want to read it. And her story is one of immense trauma with a capital T, and she escaped slavery, and she remains psychologically imprisoned by the memory of her daughter's death. It makes you wonder which is more incapacitating, a psychological memory, incapacitated by that, or physically within a jail cell and then having to deal with stuff all over again. But nonetheless, the memory of her daughter's death is a death that she caused to protect the girl from being returned to slavery. And the novel itself alternates between different time periods and perspectives, and it will peel back layers of things that we want to always come home to at the end of a working day, like guilt, repression, and pain. Oh, these are just things that we're going to be, having coffee with from time to time. But nonetheless, Beloved herself, when she does appear in a physical manifestation, it's a mysterious and unsettling presence, and it's never really clear whether she is Sethi's daughter returned or it's a symbol of her unresolved past. And what the novel does, it examines not just Sethi's trauma, but the wider effects of slavery and those who survived it. And because Angie read it back in the day, I'm sure she also would say that Morrison's prose is poetic and it is densely layered, and it does blend the mundane and the supernatural horrors in ways that will force you as a reader to confront the legacy of slavery on the human soul.
Yeah, I agree. I read this later. I think honestly, I didn't really even know about Toni Morrison until Oprah Winfrey started going crazy about her. Like, I think there was a time period where, like, I think it was like in the 90s, maybe early 90s. I'm not sure. Don't quote me
That's
on
right.
any of that. But she started talking about it a lot. And that's when I picked up, I call it Beloved. Is it Beloved or Beloved? Either way. But the writing like, I mean, I don't even know that you can like, she's amazing. She's an amazing author. If I ever am a quarter as good as Toni
There you
Morrison, I
go.
will be like so happy.
Mhm.
Oh God.
It's just
Oh,
she's
Angie has the book right behind her.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
with reason. It's amazing. And I feel like even though Oprah wanted to make this into a movie, and I get the reasons why, because like the themes and what you're talking about, and there was no
Mhm.
way, right, that was going to be as good as the book. Like, I don't know. What do
As
you
the
guys
book.
think?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
like,
don't think you can. Yeah. I mean, it can't. It just, there's no
It,
way
it,
you can't.
it's
right?
I
it's
mean,
two
it's
different
good
it's
for
two different
itself.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like to think that whenever an adaptation comes in, it complements,
Mhm.
both mediums complement one another.
Yeah.
And so I guess as a book reader from the onset, when you watch an adaptation, you just have to condition yourself and say that,
Mhm.
and be aware, at least when you watch it, that not everything from the book is going to translate
Mhm.
itself to the big screen.
Yeah.
And if it does, then that's bonus points on the filmmaker's side.
Yeah.
But at least for people who have not read the book, as long as I guess the film distills what the book is trying to tell readers,
Mhm.
Yeah.
then that at least in itself is a successful adaptation.
Yeah. And
I
Tandy Newton, she brought it. Like I, it's- when I was researching again, just to try and remember what happened in the book, I watched the
Mm-hmm.
scene with her playing the character, and oh gosh, it was just, she just creeped me out all over again. And I forgot how she really embodied the spirit of this child was murdered. And oh my gosh, it was, and just all the pain, and just like she was, the scene is where she's like walking and just screaming and screaming, but it's this deep guttural pain filled scream. And it was so heartbreaking. Yeah.
Did Oprah? I'm trying to remember. Was Oprah ever nominated for the role?
I don't know.
I really don't know, but I know that just the fact that Oprah's name was on there, like, I mean, that
Yeah, that's gonna
just,
sell.
Yeah.
yeah, like, I mean, that ticket's gonna pop way up because of
Mhm.
that. But
Yeah, I guess she purchased the rights to Beloved and spent years trying to get the film made. So she was really passionate about it. And Toni Morrison, she won the Pulitzer Prize for Beloved in 1988, and it remains one
Yeah.
of her most acclaimed works. So
I totally
Right.
can see, like, I mean, she should win the Pulitzer Prize for everything that she writes. Like, I mean, the writing is just amazing. So
Mhm.
there are just some writers like that are lyrical, and yet, like, I mean, I'm not, I don't do like the literature, usually, but
Mhm.
like, she's like so good. Like, I mean,
Yeah. Unfortunately, she passed away in
I
2019.
know that's so
Right.
sad,
Yeah.
but I would
Yeah.
still read all of her past grocery list and still think that they're awesome.
Exactly.
Well, at least we still have her works
Yeah.
to read over and over again. That's her legacy right there.
Mhm.
Um,
And
I
I'm going to read this one over again because I just, yeah, definitely.
No, I think that's one that you should definitely reread every once in a while just to
Yeah.
get you some ideas back in there. But the supernatural element, if you compare the book and the movie, so the supernatural element, again, because it's a movie, like they paid more attention to the supernatural, scary horror part of the book. Well, it's not really in the book, it's more in the movie than in the book.
Mhm.
And like, I mean, that lends itself, right? Like what you were saying, CJ, like, I mean, it's half and half, like half a dozen, six of one and half a dozen of another, like if you
yeah.
are doing a movie, obviously you're going to have to do the visual. That's what the
Mhm.
medium is. So, yeah.
I was scrolling and I checked what awards it won, or at least nominated. It was nominated in the Oscars for Best Costume Design. Colleen Atwood was nominated for that. It won also an actress in a supporting role for drama, Kimberly Elise,
Nice.
at the Satellite
He
Awards.
played Denver.
It won. There you
Oh,
go.
yeah,
She
yeah.
also won Promising Actress for the Chicago Film Critics
Nice.
in '98, and Danny Glover won Outstanding Actor for the NAACP Awards or NAACP Awards in '99.
That's the other thing. Like, I mean, you've got Oprah Winfrey and Danny Glover. Like, I mean, come on, like that's supercharged.
Did they do
That's
the Color
I
Purple
know.
before this one, or did this come after the Color Purple? Because they were both in the Color Purple, from what I recall.
Yeah,
Right?
they were. They
Yep.
were.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This has to be later than the Color Purple. The Color Purple was when I was way young. So
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
the book came out or the movie came out in 1998.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So definitely.
Wait, I checked 1985.
Ooh, 85.
85. So yeah, Color Purple was made before.
before.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
made before.
Each of us, like maybe we can start with Angie on this one. Like, did you prefer the book, the movie, for Beloved?
I prefer the book. I prefer the book. I preferred the horror the way it was translated in the book, and because it wasn't. When I think back on it, I don't recall being afraid so much as disturbed. That makes sense. Like it was disturbing on a deep level. And not the right. The writing was beautiful but just
The story.
the story. Yeah, it made me think.
And what about you, CJ?
For Hill House, I'm sort of leaning towards the adaptation because that was how I was introduced to the story first. But I feel because we're all visual creatures, the adaptation will be the most accessible one first. Then we can always just pan and scroll and move on to the jump scares. But if I really want a more nuanced and how should we say this, an atmospheric kind of form of entertainment, then I will go straight to the book.
And what about you, Angie, for The Haunting of Hill House? Which one?
For The Haunting of Hill House, I prefer the book. Yeah, I definitely do. For this the same reason, I just prefer books. Like if they're like at a comparison, it's going to be very rare that I'm going to pick a movie over the book. Very rare. I mean, there are a few, but not.
Oh, for sure there are some, but
yeah.
And CJ, for Beloved, which one did you prefer?
For Beloved, I have to admit that I have yet to read the book itself, and my only way to of getting acquainted of how Toni was able to narrate the Sethi's story was through the movie. So I stand by my claim that the adaptation will eventually complement the source material, and if anyone who has seen any particular movie harks back to the source material, which is the book, then I guess both mediums have done their job well.
Yeah, I agree because I love the movie too. Yeah, just prefer the book.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I think for Beloved, I preferred the book because of the writing. It's as simple as that. It's just I would read that book and anything that Toni Morrison writes over and over and over again on rewind, on fast forward, on anything. It's just like there are just some authors that you click with, and well, I'm not the only one obviously who clicks with Toni Morrison, but like it's just like the lyrical, the patterns, the cadence, the voice, the everything. Like I would just definitely, and if only for that reason, I would say the book.
Yeah.
For The Haunting of Hill House, believe it or not, I'm gonna say the Netflix series because I feel like they modernized it. And they brought it to a new audience, and I feel like when they did it, they didn't compromise the story.
Oh, good.
So they kept the gist of the story. They modernized it and kept it like what it's supposed to be. So I think for that reason, I'm going with the Netflix series.
Yeah, they made us jump in our seats and at the same time cry at the same time. It's like how many adaptations or how many movies
can you
do that?
Yeah. And like I mean that movie, the book is an older book, you know what I mean? And I have a hard time reading older books, like I mean in the 60s even, like I have a hard time. So like the fact that they modernized it for a new audience, like I was super happy with it. So.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, so
no,
it's in my
put
queue.
that on your.
It's in my queue. I was like, I'm gonna try and see it before this, but I didn't have a chance to.
you're in for a treat when you do that. Watch it midnight Halloween. That'll be.
No, lights on midday.
Well, it was a choice. It was a choice between watching Interview with a Vampire, the series, or watching Haunting of Hill House, the series. And I chose Interview with a Vampire. And I'm pretty happy that I did because
it's good.
Yeah. So, and we're going to be talking about that soon. So.
Yeah.
All right, CJ, do number 3 for us.
Okay, number 3, because this one award-winning author just celebrated his birthday. He is obviously here on the list, and everyone knows who he is. He is Stephen King, and the book at number 3 in our list is It.
Yeah.
That's right. Hello,
Hey, we all
Pennywise.
float. Float,
Oh
float, float.
gosh, please. I'm gonna get scared.
There's some
Yes,
balloons
they
up
all
there,
float.
Christy.
I know. I'm trying to find a clown. Give me a second. I'm gonna do this instead. Okay, there.
Want a balloon, Georgie? Yeah, Georgie, I got a
Oh,
balloon.
balloon. Yeah. Let's do balloons. There we go.
There we go. There we go. And it's a red balloon too.
Mm.
You know, it was
Oh, yes.
So
Perfect.
this is one of those movies, books. I mean, that in the introduction, when I said that we read it way too early and we were way too young, I read this way too young.
Oh,
Like I
no.
know it came out in 1986 and I was like 16. I'm dating myself, but I was still too young, and I'm still too young. I feel like this book is freaking scary. Freaking
gosh.
scary.
Well, see, I watched the Tim Curry version of the movie before reading the book, even though I had the book because my dad.
Yeah, I did that too.
Did you?
I did that too.
Yeah, I tried. You know, that book is like this.
It's a brick,
Creepy
yeah.
Oh
book,
God, that's another doorstopper right there.
right? And so I mean, I think I tried to read it, but I couldn't get into it. And then I watched the series, and I don't think I read this. I don't think I read the book until I was in my 20s or 30s. It was a long time before I finally read it. And then I did, and I was like, oh, this is so good.
It is.
Why did I not read it before? Like, it was just because, you know, the kids, and then they're adults, and like I just loved it. And it was creepy. So
It was. That was reading it was actually my first foray into to King.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so I don't know if that was the right book to introduce myself to how Stephen King writes. But it took me a while to get through with it because and you know I know that people will have issues with each and every writer out there, but he writes it so densely, so detailed, and sometimes you feel like, do I really need to know this? Because I feel that sometimes you can skip 1 or 2 pages and it doesn't take anything away from
yeah,
I
the whole
agree.
structure
I agree.
of the story. But that's how he writes things, and that's that's why he's a master for what it is. A craft, that is. Well, if you have not read it, and it is basically a sprawling novel that explores the nature of fear. And of course, you have to balance that out with friendship across 2 different time periods, the late 50s and the mid 80s. And this is set in the small town of Derry in Maine. And there's this ancient entity known as it. Now, it awakens every 27 years to feed on the town's children. And it often takes the form of a clown, who we know as Pennywise, but it can alter its own structure, shapeshift, if you will, into whatever its victim fears the most. And the novel follows a group of misfit children, known as the Losers Club, and they come together to defeat it after one of their friends is killed. And after 27 years, when they're all grown up, of course, Pennywise comes back. The now adult members of the Losers Club are called back to Derry to finish what they started. And it's not just a story of a terrifying monster, but also a deep exploration of traumas by each of the characters, both from their childhood and also in their adult lives. And there's so much backstory, very rich. And of course, an eerie history of the town of Derry and the reflections on the power of memory.
So good.
Yeah, no, and I think that part of the trauma is Stephen King inflicting trauma on the reader, because like I don't know about you guys, but I can't see a clown without thinking of it. Like, it's as simple as that. Just like I can't see a cemetery without thinking Pet Cemetery, or a red car without thinking of Christine,
It's Christine,
or
yeah.
a dog without Cujo. Like, he's just so good at that. And don't get me started on Children of the Corn. Oh my God. But anyways,
No.
so like it was just scary, but I agree with you at the same time, like that. And I think that's what his mastery is, right? Like, he scares you to death, but you can't put the book down.
Yeah.
You know, like if we were smart about it, or if I was smart about it, like I would just put the book down and say like, yeah, no, thank you. I can't, but I can't.
No,
We need
thank
to
you.
know. And it's so good. And so, yeah, definitely.
I like the fact that it
True.
feels like it's just set in a small town, and everyone it could be a real place, and if the characters feel real, like, you know, the setting feels real. It just feels like something that could really happen, and that's what brings you in and makes it feel scarier because it's so believable, it's so realistic. I really like the fact that there is a meaty book because I read really fast, and so I need something that's going to suck me in and keep me and hold me for a couple days, because once I'm in the world, I don't like leaving. That's why I like the series, like a nice dense series, because I like to be in the world and I want to invest in it. And the thing with Stephen King's worlds is that, you know, people die and creatures come and things happen, and it's scary.
Wait, back up. You said 2 days. So does this mean that you can read something as thick as it in a couple of days? Wow, you're a fast reader.
Well,
God.
not anymore. Not so much anymore, because now I have bifocals here, and so I can't see it. But yeah, when I was younger, like 400-page books I could read in like 4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
was a fast reader back then. And
is that with or without coffee?
Yeah, I read so much. I would a book a day. I would read a book a day.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
Wow. Book a day. Yeah.
I'm actually,
if there was Goodreads back in the day, Angie would probably be the winner.
yes.
The fastest reader ever.
Yeah, I read really fast. Not so much anymore.
That's okay.
It's all right.
So
that's why I like George R. R. Martin.
I know. Well, you must be very happy with that. Absolutely. And did you read sorry, I know that we're going astray, but have you read the latest Stephen King book, The Fairy Tale? That's a big, thick book too. So
that's somewhere up there in my top shelf.
Really good.
I have yet to read it.
Really
I've
love
heard
it.
good things about it.
Really loved it.
He retired, right? Didn't he retire? I recall that he retired, and I was heartbroken that he was retiring. And now, what has it been, 20 years later?
It's a great book. Read it. I completely enjoyed it. But one of the difference between the movie and the book is the character development. Because obviously when you're writing a book, like, okay, I'm exaggerating, but when you're writing such a thick book, you can get into the personal development, character development way more in the book than you can in the movie, even though they made it like It 1 and It 2 kind of thing. And even with that, they were still not able to manage to put in everything that was in that book. So definitely if you're into the character development of it, like, pick up the book.
Yeah, that's right.
But,
there's also a difference in the ending. When I watched the Tim Curry version, I was expecting, a direct, detailed description of that particular battle at the end. But the book features more of a metaphysical battle with the creature, and it's steeped in cosmic horror, which I wasn't ready for when I was reading it. So the film basically adapts this into more physical confrontations, again, because everything needs to be visual in the film. And it did sort of like downplay the surreal and otherworldly nature of the original ending. And the only reading it in a book did you feel that it was properly introduced that Pennywise is not of this world. And in balance to that, there's also the turtle, which they sort of did not, explain in the Tim Curry version. And I don't remember the turtle also being mentioned in the modern version. So it's like they should have included that. But I think if they put the turtle in, then that would have been a different film that would play out if they did that. So I guess that's why they opted to not put it in.
Yeah, to focus on Pennywise makes sense when you're doing the movie, so.
Yeah, he has to be the star. No one's supposed to be in the same, shot with him. If it's Pennywise, I don't need no turtles in there.
So was there like a tie-in to the Dark Tower? Because usually there is. I don't know if you know, like, Stephen King's Dark Tower series, and usually most of the books there's some sort of tie into the tower.
That's very true what you're saying, but
and I can't recall if there was or not.
Good research.
There probably is, but yeah, definitely. Like how
there might be. Yeah, but it's like some sort of cameo. Like, if you have Stan Lee in the MCU films, then
right.
Yes, exactly. But there's a lot of authors too, right, who will put in something into each one of their books. Like we had a friend who put crows in each of his books just so that, like, that would be the thing that tie them in. But
and that's the thing, like, if you've never read the Dark Tower, you don't know.
You'll never know, right?
Yeah, you never know. Yeah.
I
didn't until I read that. So
there is a connection with regards to the film.
Ooh.
It says that there's a portrait of Pennywise that can be seen in The Dark Tower, The Fall of Gilead. In the
Look at that.
2017 film version, there's a portrait that says Pennywise written on the amusement park ride. And like the Crimson King, it claims to be the eater of worlds.
Very
Mm.
cool. Well, thank you for that bit of information, CJ.
Yes, thank
Now
you.
we're gonna have to look that up and go see it.
Because that's
Find
one of
it.
the things I love about Stephen King is the fact that the Dark Tower weaves itself through every single book that he has. And
Very
and
cool.
it's like one of those things, if you have never read the Dark Tower series, you may not realize that and I love the Dark Tower series. So
There you go. There you go.
anyway, I
Stephen
went off
King-
topic. Sorry.
Oh no,
That's
this
all
is
right.
good. This is good.
That's good. It's still Stephen King. Well,
Yeah.
King came up with the idea of Pennywise when he was imagining a monster that could take any form to scare children, much like the ultimate childhood fear of a clown. There must be a word that means fear of clowns. There's got to be a
I'm
phobia word for that.
certain of it, and it's
Yeah.
called yikes. Yes.
Yikes! With a capital Y.
It's incredible because like I find like it did to clowns what Jaws did to sharks.
To
You know what
sharks,
I mean?
yes, yeah.
Like it's totally
True.
and it was like every time you saw a clown after it was just kind of like so I think a lot of people like who used to be clowns for birthday parties and make like those balloons like just oh well we're out of a job.
True.
Who likes
And-
clowns? No,
No, we all hate
Yeah.
clowns. So again, maybe what we can do now is which one did you like best? I'll start this time. So for
Okay.
it, I like the book better, just because you can get more into the characters of the kids. You get more details about when they were young, when they were old.
Mhm.
You get like the turtle. You get all of that, and you also they actually mix more the childhood and the grown-ups. Like it just the intermixing of those two time periods is better in the book than it is in the movie. That's why I'll go with the book.
Yeah. Okay. For me, I'd go with obviously with the adaptation because that's the first thing that introduced me first to Pennywise. Tim Curry's portrayal of Pennywise in that miniseries is really, really iconic. Not to take away from the latest version, that one also did a great job. I feel that the new version focused more on the jump scares than maybe trying to emphasize that there will always be something that will scare us as kids, and each and every fear that the kid goes through is different from each and every other kid, and we all deal with it the best way that we know how. But if you're up for an extensive research, then fine, then go watch the adaptations and then go back to the book, because obviously the book will give you more. And if you have not read the book and you don't know what I'm talking about with regards to what I said earlier about the turtle, then yes, go back to the book. And if you read it at a turtle, that's also okay. If you read it at turtle space, that's fine, because it is a door stopper and no one's rushing you to finish it.
Exactly. Not everybody's Angie. We can't read it in 2 days, so it's okay.
I probably could read it in 2 days now, but
There you go.
I
we won't take anything from your trophy, Angie. You've
you
won the
got
trophy
it.
for the fastest reader, so that's you.
I wish I still had the skill. Yeah, it would make my life so much easier today. The book, I definitely prefer the book. I did not watch the latest adaptation, so I can't compare. So I'm just basing it on the Tim Curry version. I really enjoyed the first It that I watched because it was what introduced me to the story. Like I said, I hadn't read the book yet, but then once I finally did read the book, I was hooked and I've read it a couple of times now. So
there's just one more thing that I need to say about Stephen King. Of course, he was going to be in our 5 favorite, but there was a very big debate as to which book movie we were going to put on there, because we only wanted to put one, because obviously we could do a 5 favorite Stephen King book to movie, like he's got so many books and movies out there. But this is the one that we came up with. We could have picked from many, and I highly recommend that you go and pick yourself a Stephen King book and compare it to the movie, any movie, because they're all awesome. So
yeah,
very true, very true.
All right, next on the list is it's The Silence of the Lambs. All right, and we know Clarice Starling, and of course, we also know Hannibal Lecter. This is the movie that introduced them into the general audience. The book came out in 1988. The movie was in 1991, which is directed by Jonathan Demme, and obviously it reaped the awards that it did. Okay, Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, who wouldn't? Come on, powerhouse cast. To summarize it, The Silence of the Lambs, it is a psychological horror thriller that follows FBI trainee Clarice Starling as she seeks the help of an incarcerated cannibal. Yes, Hannibal the Cannibal, and he's also a serial killer at that, and he has 2 of those titles on his CV. Need I say that he's also a doctor? Dr. Hannibal Lecter, and they need his help to catch another murderer on the loose, who is Buffalo Bill. So Lecter is a brilliant psychiatrist and is both a source of information and is also a dangerous manipulator, forcing Clarice to reveal personal details in exchange for his help. And as Clarice digs deeper into the investigation, Lecter's insight becomes ever more crucial, and a strange and unsettling relationship develops between the both of them. And Thomas Harris paints Lecter as a charismatic and chillingly intelligent character who revels in psychological games. Now, Clarice, on the other hand, is a driven and resourceful protagonist who struggles with traumatic memories of her childhood. And what the novel successfully does, it weaves together psychological tension. There's also crime investigation, not to mention, of course, a little bit of horror, with the relationship between Clarice and Lecter at the heart of the book.
What a wonderful story that is. It's just, it's incredible. And as I was like looking this up for our podcast, it was incredible to me when I read that Anthony Hopkins is in the movie for 16 minutes.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Like, I mean,
that's who I think of when I think of the movie.
exactly. So his character, his acting is so good that it leaves you a lasting impression. He's in there for 16 minutes. Like, I mean, that's amazing to me. I was flabbergasted when I heard that. It was just, wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't think he ever took a pay cut for it either. He was it was
But
paid in full.
I remember seeing this movie. I saw the movie first. And I remember like coming out of there, like, like when you just like, you don't even know how to feel, like you're out of there and it's just like, what did I just see? What just happened? What
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
this kind of thing? And where can I pick up this book? Like that's kind of the feeling that I had after leaving that. Like obviously Jodie Foster was incredible, strong female lead in this, which like at the time, like I don't remember, like I can't remember ever thinking, wow, what a strong female lead before, you know what I mean? Like she was in that movie trying anyways, her best to be better than what he was trying to do to her. And he was amazing, scary, like you can't even believe that there was like a character like that, it's like, ooh, this guy is just creepy at the creepiest of levels and everything. So I just remember coming out of there in a daze going like, wow, like what did I just live through? That was cool.
True. I remember that film because it felt like it was like a continuing streak for Jodie Foster. She won for The Accused.
Yes.
And then she won for this one. So that was like, I felt that was like the Jodie Foster era. It's like anything that Jodie Foster does, for sure she's gonna win it, and she did.
That's true. Yeah, and it was so creepy too. It was just like one of the I watched the movie before I read the book, and it was just like I didn't really watch a lot of horror when I was younger, and for some, and especially like a psychological thriller like that wasn't really something that I watched. And boo, my gosh, and it led me down the rabbit hole because I watched the movie, and then of course I had to read the book, and the book is better to me. And I was surprised that it could be better because the movie was so good. I came out surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did, because I didn't think that it could compare to the movie, because the movie was just so good. And like I said, I mean, 16 minutes, just his Anthony Hopkins being in that, he lived that character, he breathed that character. I believed it, and I believed that there was someone out there who could do what he did. Like how did this guy, I mean,
right,
it was so good.
The other person who did that so well was Billy Crystal. during the Oscars when he came out,
Oh,
and
yes.
when it was wheeled out, and then
I
with
remember that.
the lecture
The
mask, like,
mask.
okay.
Oh
When
my
the
god.
Oscars were amazing because of the intros that Billy Crystal did. Yeah, no, definitely.
Mhm.
But I feel
Yeah.
like oh, sorry, I totally forgot what I was gonna say. No, I hate it when this happens.
I know, it
Oh
happens
no, this
all
is
the
it. This
time,
is it.
like
I
all the
remember. I
time.
remember. But
Okay, now you remember.
16 minutes on the screen, and you talk to anybody about the name Hannibal Lecter, and everybody knows who you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, name me another guy who could do that. You know, like it's very few that can, in that little amount of time, make you remember a character forever. Good job. Absolutely,
Yeah.
because that's what Hollywood does. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It condensed, right?
Mhm.
And the novel portrays their relationship, yes, as complex. It has deep intellectual exchanges, and in the film, it is still there. You know, the dynamic is present, but of course, because of time constraints, it's once again, filtered
16
or funneled
minutes.
into, yes, funneled into the appropriate running time of a film, which is
Mhm.
about 2 hours.
Without compromising the story, though, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
it was a good adaptation, I
Mhm.
found. So okay,
It was.
CJ, movie or book? Which one?
Movie or book? I would go for the book. Although the movie was great, it had, memorable lines from it, but because we're talking about more of psychological horror than supernatural horror,
Mhm.
and anything that has to do with psychological has layers,
Yep.
and you don't just peel all 20 layers at the same time, you peel them one by one, and the book will obviously do that for you
That's
if you
that's
like doing that.
mhm.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree with CJ. What he said.
With
I'm gonna
regarding onions.
Like the onions, the peeling of the onion,
I don't
Jay.
know, like that made me think of like Hannibal Lecter. So I don't know, like peeling the onions, like it's something he would say. But anyway, I'm gonna
Oh,
I'm gonna I'm gonna
Christie, the image, peeling, skin,
okay, okay, okay.
sauteing it with a little
I'm
bit
gonna
of
cheat on this one, and I am going to tell you that the book and the movie for me is a tie because the book
Mm.
obviously can go into further detail and you get more
Mhm.
and whatever. But I feel that Toni, Anthony Hopkins, and Jodie Foster were so incredible that that one merits some time too. So I'm gonna say, do yourself a favor, read the book and see the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Read the book first, then
Agree. I was bummed out when they did the film version of Hannibal, and they got Julianne Moore to be Clarice Starling instead of
Yeah.
so I don't know. They say that I haven't read the Hannibal book yet. But they felt that it was a wise choice for Jodie Foster to not accept that role because she felt that Clarice had less things to do in the film as compared to Hannibal. So I don't know.
I
But it
see.
would
I didn't see. They did both, right? They did Hannibal and they did
a
Clarice, and
silent. Yeah.
I didn't see either one of them. Did you guys see both?
I may have, and I don't recall it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah. I still feel that, Jodie should have just to sort of like tie in
Yeah.
to Silence of the Lambs, just, made sure that it was still Jodie. And since you already have Anthony Hopkins reprising his role as Hannibal,
Yeah,
so
that
why not
Yeah.
get Jodie? So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't
They
know.
made a
Sure.
TV series out of it too, didn't they?
Yeah. That's what I think I'm thinking about
They
more.
did. They
Yeah.
did. They did.
Pardon me.
Yeah. But it was a treat to see somebody eating their own brains while it was being fried. So it's like, oh, so that's how it tastes like. I mean, I remember pig brains.
Oh God,
Uh,
I can't handle brain.
Any organ, actually.
I mean, I've tried it, but it's not human, obviously. I just want to put
yeah.
that out there.
Well,
Not human brain.
not human. Yeah, not human brain. Well,
We're editing
mix it
that
with
out.
yeah, mix it with egg and create an omelet for breakfast.
Oh, gross.
Simply no. Simply why? Simply just eggs. Yeah, no, we're good. Vegetables are good.
Our number 5 favorite is the movie version came out in 1994. It was directed by Neil Jordan, with Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Kirsten Dunst, and Antonio Banderas. Oh, yes. Interview with a Vampire follows the story of Louis, a 200-year-old vampire who recounts his life to a journalist. His tale begins in the 18th century when, after the death of his brother, Louis. We should have had Christie do it so she can do her French accent.
Oh, Christie does a
Louis.
great.
Come
Yes,
on, Christie.
Louis Points du Lac.
Christie, take over. Come on.
Oh no. Okay, so after the death of his brother Louis, he meets Lestat, who turns him into a vampire. The two live together as companions, but Louis is constantly at odds with the vampire lifestyle. He struggles with the morality of taking human life. Every single book that I've read about vampire does that. The two eventually turn a young girl, Claudia, into a vampire, and the three form this kind of weird vampire family. The weird part about Claudia is because they turn her when she's like 6, I think, but she matures. So now she's a fully grown adult in the body of a 6-year-old, and that's kind of like a strange thing for her to deal with, and she has deep resentment because of that, because everybody that sees her always thinks of her as a child, but she's not. The novel explores themes of immortality, guilt, the search for meaning, and of course this is written by Anne Rice, so I don't know, I'm a huge fan of Anne Rice. Every single book that she has written, including her more risque books. And it's totally atmospheric, like all of Anne Rice's books. It's totally a philosophical narrative. And Louis' existential crisis drives the plot of this book. And it makes it a meditation on life and death of the vampire. It was an awesome. Awesome. But Anne Rice is awesome. Not afraid. Okay. Anne Rice is just not afraid to go there. That's what I love about her.
That's right. That's right. And when people dismiss it as, oh, it's just another vampire story. Oh, it's just another horror story. No, we beg to differ. It is not. It goes deeper than that, right? So sometimes when I see it, in the bookstore, when they put this on the horror section, it's like, I'm not sure it should be there.
Yeah, I never really thought of it more as like a horror.
Yeah, I didn't think of it. It's more drama than horror for me. I mean, just because you see the word vampire in the title, you automatically just chuck it there to that section. But no, it's not. And I remembered at an interview that Anne said that with regards to Claudia's age, because it was hard to depict Claudia within that specific age in the book, they had to make her older in the film. And I think also when Anne was saying that she wanted Claudia to be much younger in the book, and after reading the initial manuscript, and her husband Stan was shaking his head, come on, Anne, a child vampire, this is not only risque, but this is like unheard of. Oh, okay, that'll make her older. Maybe I'll make her older. Maybe add 1 year.
But I love that she went there, because I mean, think about it. You're in the body of a 6-year-old and you're like 100, let's say.
Right. Like your mind continues to mature.
Right. It's like, I am done with you thinking I'm 6 years old, because I have seen more than you have, so.
Yeah, that's right. I have enough of dolls. No, don't give me dolls.
Exactly. So
unless they're like puppets.
The one thing that I didn't like about the movie that they did in the book that they changed for I guess because at the time that the movie came out, what time, sorry,
that was 94.
Okay, so maybe at that time, having 2 gay vampires was a little too risque for the moviegoers at that time. I don't think that we were there yet. But I mean, when you're reading the book, it's obvious that Louis and Lestat have a relationship. But when you were in the movie, Claudia was in the same casket as Louis, so you're kind of like, they make it look like it's more like a heterosexual relationship, which is weird to she's still whatever, the whole thing is weird, but I just didn't like that they took that away from the book, when they did the book.
When I was reading that, I remember that I didn't know that that's how she intended it, but she felt that the sexuality of her vampires transcend what we would define sexuality as. In short, that the lines were always blurred with
Blurred.
them.
Mhm.
And she does that so well
Yeah.
with how she personified, every vampire, that I don't think her vampires, well, according to her, she said that I don't think her vampires were gay. It's just that that's how,
We
that's how
interpret
it
it kind of thing.
interpreted, or that's how it felt natural for her to write it as,
Love it.
that they don't really care that the victim is a male or then a female. It's just they're a victim,
Mhm.
period. And if you haven't read the book, her vampires would actually choose wrongdoers, and they're not just innocent victims.
Yeah.
So they're also purging the world of evildoers. So that's what Lestat had to teach Louis, and say
Right.
that you don't just pick out anyone from the lot. You have to
Mhm.
make sure that the people that you follow are wrongdoers.
Yeah.
And that's her, I guess that's her way of defining social justice. That
Mhm.
if the law that if the law can't punish these wrongdoers, then I've got vampire to do my job for me.
Yeah, but like I mean, at the same time, like if you're a vampire and you need this to feed, then you might as well take the bad ones. You know what I mean? Like I can
Yeah,
see the logic in it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and that was
So
the thing with Claudia. She wasn't able to get that. She would just
yeah.
kill whoever. And I think that's why they didn't want child vampires, because they didn't have that ability to tell the right from wrong, and just morally gray, and like they're just too young. And
Yeah. There's no sense of discernment
yeah.
for kids. Yeah.
Mhm.
In the novel, Louis and Lestat's relationship is much more nuanced, with Louis being more philosophical and introspective about his immortality, his purpose in life. Of course, that's why it's existential. And in the film, it's more of a power struggle,
Mhm.
with Lestat being more domineering.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's the whole the departure for the dynamic, for the sense of the relationship.
Mhm.
But if the movie was not able to distill all of that, it was at least able to portray, Lestat as the one who is leading the pack.
Mhm.
And because he was domineering, what he says is go. Like, you do
Well,
not question whatever I say. Whatever I say is the rule, and that's it.
well, we also have to remember that it's written from Louis' point of view. So this
Correct.
is his,
Yes.
like he's seeing it from him. I mean, from his point of view,
Mhm.
not
Yes.
from, yeah. So everything is filtered through Louis. I
You're
love
True.
absolutely right.
so,
As if like if you were to tell a teenager like, oh, what do you think of your dad? They
yeah.
would probably say like, well, he makes the rules and then I have to.
Oh
So
my
like, yeah,
God,
you're
right?
right. Like to him, like Lestat is this like, this is what I said and blah blah
Mhm.
blah. But yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree.
And so we're looking because I was watching that last night, and so is the diaries, Claudia's diaries, and Louis telling the story about his life, and it's all filtered through his lens, and so we don't really know in that particular moment, like what was it from Lestat's point of view, like what was he thinking, what was he feeling, what was going on, and whether or not it was filtered, whether it was actually the same way that Louis perceived it, like was it, or was it just his perception of what was going on? I don't know.
Makes
Exactly.
you want
Exactly.
to. It makes you want to sit down with maybe a little bit more, CJ, because I know that you guys you have a group that loves Anne Rice. But what made her choose Louis? If I were to write this story,
Hmm.
I would probably choose to interview Lestat.
Okay.
Like, why
That
would you?
was that was a time when Anne was also soul searching with regards to her own place in the world, and
Okay.
she felt that when she wrote it, it was a mirror of her own search for meaning, and what she and her own journey to becoming a published author.
Mm.
She felt that when she was writing it, she felt that she was Louis, and her husband, who was questioning everything, and at the same time being supportive, was Lestat. At the time when she was writing, it was in the 70s. She imagined Rutger Hauer to be the one to portray Lestat if given a choice as
Ooh.
a movie adaptation. And if she
Wow.
given a choice to cast it, she would have wanted Rutger Hauer. But of course, fast forward to the 90s, Rutger Hauer is not doing as much movies as anymore, and so I guess Tom Cruise was the choice
Interesting.
that they had to go through, and they needed someone with a big name to push the movie forward.
Yeah.
And at that time, and still is,
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Tom Cruise will obviously sell a movie, so
Oh
they had
yeah,
to go
that's true.
But I
had to go
also
with
read
that.
in the research, right, that she actually didn't want Tom Cruise to do Lestat,
Yes, she did not. She
but
she
that
took out a front page ad in
right.
Variety. Yeah.
Ooh,
But
And she,
after she saw the movie, she actually wrote him an apology letter.
that's
yes,
sweet.
she did. She did. And she had issues about that. It's like everyone talked about the way I dissed Tom Cruise. But people forgot that I took an apology, and where were the people talking about my apology? And it's
That's
like,
right.
yeah, that's what she said.
Mhm.
And I remember that. And she also said when she wrote it, people were telling her, and this was after her daughter died, Michelle died of leukemia.
No.
So people closest to her were saying that, why do you have a child vampire in your book? This must be about your daughter who passed away. And she said, no, it was not. And she felt that if she were focused on her daughter who passed away in the book, she probably could have not written or finished the book.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
Claudia
sweet.
was totally different from her
Her
mom,
Mm.
from her daughter. Yeah,
Wow.
who was also blonde.
Mm. All right.
Yeah.
So book or movie or TV series?
Sorry, book first.
Mm.
Book first. I fell in love with the book first.
I don't even know why I have to ask.
Yeah,
Christy?
but I
Oh,
haven't
sorry.
read this. I haven't seen the series, by the way.
It's good.
Um,
I like it.
I have issues with it with regards to the changes.
Yeah.
So I felt that it was, pardon me for saying, I just felt that they took so much liberty out of the material. And I may have to really condition myself when I watch it to just deal with the changes and accept the series
Yeah.
for what it is, and not a direct adaptation.
Yeah. I was at first hesitant just because I read the books and then I watched the series and I was a little confused about the timeline and stuff. When
Yeah,
that
there you
was
go.
kind of off. It did take a bit to get used to it, but I really
Yeah.
enjoyed the characters. I like the actor who portrayed Louis, and I like the actress who portrayed Claudia, and she was so cute. Crazy little Claudia.
Crazy
Crazy
little
Yeah,
little,
vampire.
crazy
crazy
little Claudia.
Claudia. Yeah, did a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
job. So I'm enjoying it. So I want to watch this season 2. So and find out what happens.
Right.
And I'm with
I think,
CJ. I think the book is incredible. I think
Mhm.
anything Anne Rice writes, I will read. So, yep, it's book first. Although I have to say, the movie is a very close second. Like, I mean, the movie is very good too.
Yeah, the
So,
movie's good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but the book.
exactly. I mean, if you didn't get to read the book, you will still see the book
Mhm.
in the 1994 Tom Cruise movie.
Mhm.
I remember before AMC got the rights to the film, I mean to do the adaptation, Anne's son Christopher actually wrote a screenplay for the pilot.
Mhm.
And what they did then was they did not want to start with interview first. They wanted to start with the Vampire Lestat first,
Mhm.
because the Vampire Lestat, events in the Vampire Lestat, that is, happened before interview. So that was what they wanted to do first. So I don't know why AMC changed it and decided to do interview. And I guess it explains also the time jump.
Mhm.
They wanted to distance themselves, I guess, from the 1994 version. And so what better way to do that than change the time frame?
Yeah.
We're done with number 5, unless you
done with
guys want to do
number
another
5.
5.
Oh
Another
no.
time, another day.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Another time,
Definitely.
another day. That's right. That's right.
We
Yeah.
have a whole other year, maybe year 2 of Angie and Christie. We'll celebrate our 2nd anniversary with another 5 horror.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in for year 2. I'm in for year.
No. We gotta do the sci-fi.
Sci-fi, yeah, no, definitely we'll do that. But thank you again to CJ for
Yeah.
coming. We had such a good time. We always have a good
Thank
time when you're here.
you.
You
Thank
know
you,
so
Angie.
much.
Thank you,
You're so
Christy.
knowledgeable. You're so friendly. You're so everything. We love you.
Yeah, we do.
What? It's
Mhm.
just the coffee. It's just the coffee talking.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had
Thank
a
you
blast.
so much. I always have fun when I'm in the show with you guys.
Aw.
Thank you always for inviting me, and you guys are, equally inspiring authors and
Oh.
podcast creators, and I thank you for that as well.
And we always thank you for coming on because you are our first,
Yeah.
the very first. So, and we
Ah,
appreciate you.
ah,
Yeah, I know.
ah.
All right. So, everyone, if you haven't subscribed to our channel or CJ's channel, which is Urban PH, wait,
Urban Fantasy PH.
Thank you, Urban Fantasy
Yeah.
PH. I was like, I knew I was missing something. Please do that. The link is in the description box, or I'll probably just stick it up here at the end of the video, and you can just click on the screen and do it.
Yay!
So we just want to thank him for coming on, and thank you all for watching us. We have a top 10 fantasy series that we did with CJ, and it'll be in one of our playlists if you want to click on that.
Bye. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Until
Happy
next
anniversary
time.
to-
Next time. Happy anniversary to Angie and Christie's right now. And if you have not tried reading horror, just try to read one. Try to pick up
Yes.
one horror book. And
Yes.
please do not wait till Halloween to read horror. Horror is not just for October. Halloween, it's for every day.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
And I just
Yeah.
got the Vampire Lestat, so I will be reading that this weekend. So
Yay, yay. And in 2 days, Angie will be done with it. So I was like,
yeah, probably. Oh, yeah. You know what my favorite is the her Taltos. Like Taltos is my favorite.
oh, I love
Favorite.
Taltos.